Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. I have a story here about pirated movies being shown to prisoners in a county prison. One of whom is in there for pirating. Pretty amazing. I guess this guy Richard Humphrey was sent to the prison for a parole violation, but he had numerous run-ins with the law, one of which was criminal copyright infringement. And he basically is claiming that this type of thing is pretty common in these prisons. They got to see The Wolf of Wall Street before it was out. They got to see some other movies before it was out. And I mean, this is probably great for the inmates, right? Getting to see new movies. It sounds wonderful, but the legality of it is another matter entirely. Is this something that could just go completely under the radar and will go under the radar or it's not under the radar anymore? Will this be enforced by the federal authorities?
I don't know. It is really weird, though. What I'm wondering is is this an inmate who is now out? In other words, how did he tell this to the outside world?
Let's see. According to a press release on the U.S. Department of Justice website, operated that. I'm not sure. I think he told someone. He managed to tell someone somehow. I'm not really sure. Maybe he did get out, but I don't think he did. It seems like he's still in there for a parole violation.
I am not one to ignore the importance of intellectual property rights, but give it. Yeah, go ahead.
He was there until May 6th, so he was released.
What I was going to say was, given how we've done stories where in prisons inmates are getting raped, where or in some cases inmates are having sex with the corrections officers, and there's incredibly widespread corruption. If the worst thing that's going on is some pirated movies are being shown, and believe me, I respect and understand the importance of intellectual property rights, that's probably not that bad of a prison.
Right. So anyway, I thought this was kind of funny. He said that these were the types of recordings that some of them were even taken in a movie theater. Like you could see people walking by the camera. So yeah, kind of ghetto, but there it is. I wonder how many prisons this is happening in.
Remember the Seinfeld episode where Kramer has a friend who pirates movies, and he has Kramer hold the camera, and of course Kramer gets caught, and it's a whole fiasco. That's I actually saw someone in the one time I went to the movies here in New York City since moving here. There was someone in there recording the screen.
In every show you've been to?
No, I've only been to one show, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not surprising. And now with Google Glasses, anyone can do it. You have $1,500. Anyway, moving on. I have a story here about a New Jersey woman who has just been legally banned from writing about her family on Facebook and elsewhere. She just basically cannot publicly write about her family. That was the court order. Most of the writing was happening on Facebook. And I guess the woman is unidentified, but she cannot write about her children and ex-husband in her online writings. She mentioned in a bunch of these writings involving her family, the Book of Revelations, Jeffrey Dahmer, Satan, and Adolf Hitler. And I guess her writings were called Rambling, Irrational, Disturbing, and Bizarre by a Judge. Of course, people are bringing up the First Amendment here. A judge did rule that this was constitutional. I'm not really sure about the legality of it in terms of the First Amendment. I would just imagine that there comes a point when you say so many inflammatory things that, I don't know, this is somehow warranted.
Well, it's interesting because think about a restraining order, right? A restraining order makes it so physically you can't approach a certain person. And in many cases, you're not allowed to talk to them either, right? You're not allowed to communicate with them via electronic means. So it's possible that this is not that different than a restraining type order where you're not being told you can't post on Facebook or whatever, but in the same way that a restraining order would prevent you from having contact with a certain person, you're also prohibited from speaking about a certain person. And the thing is, there are many lawsuits that happen where, as part of the settlement, one party is forbidden to speak about the settlement or about the other party. So I don't know. I mean, I can understand why people would wonder about the free speech element, but there are very similar types of arrangements that exist all the time.
Right. Apparently, this woman ran away with her 2 young children in 2011 after she lost custody of them. And she was caught trying to take them over the border in Canada. And I guess she accepted a plea deal, and the state agreed to drop the kidnapping charges as long as she sought therapy and had to, and a psychiatric evaluation. They later found out that she did not get the help she needed. So obviously a completely insane woman. But she continued to write about her family. And now, as a kind of a code, she would refer to her family as Camelot. And I guess there have been about 161 instances of Camelot on her blog between the gag order and the most recent hearing. I don't know.
Have
Crazy
you ever
stuff.
been the subject of a gag order, Lewis?
I have not. No. I was going to say something dirty, but I'm not going to go there. It's we'll keep it clean here. We'll keep it family friendly. Anyway, let us know what you think. Is this a violation of the First Amendment? Is this judge completely wrong? I don't know. I have a story here from Andre about, and I love this, a new type of battery from Japan, a Power Japan Plus. And the website is not loading, of course, because I need to talk about it. There we go. So apparently, how's my screen, David? Am I doing good?
You're doing okay right now. I mean, it hasn't been the best day for Lewis's video transmission.
You never know. Never know. Shitty ass Time Warner. It's a new type of battery intended for automobiles and other things. I guess mainly automobiles, although this new technology, I guess, could be all over the place. And it's being called a dual carbon battery. The company claims that the battery charges 20 times faster than current lithium-ion batteries. They say it doesn't heat up, so it doesn't require cooling, and is cost competitive with other current batteries used in cars. And the insides of this are pretty amazing. It keeps getting better here. It's made of carbon instead of metals, so that makes it cheaper to produce, and like we said, takes away the thermal charge and does away with the associated fire hazards. Good news for Tesla, I guess. They add that the carbon they use is new as well. It's an organic compound grown from cotton fibers. And therefore, when the battery is no longer useful, it can easily be recycled. And I guess it has the capacity to be recharged more times than the current alternatives. So all around, you've got just a completely groundbreaking battery. I mean, I think this could change everything.
This is really good. And there's a podcast I listened to, I may have mentioned it before on the show, called Forward Thinking. I know it's on Stitcher. I don't know where else you can get it, probably anywhere. And they did an episode on battery technology, and they explain how batteries, you essentially get power out of them via a chemical reaction that takes place. And in general, with a rechargeable battery, the way it's recharged is that the chemical reaction is, essentially speaking, undone. So then it can be redone and you get power out of it. Of course, you only have a limited life, and as people know, eventually the battery life starts decreasing over time, and it only holds 90% of the original full charge and 80%. And eventually, with a mobile phone or laptop, you're probably moving on to your next device before it gets too bad. But we are potentially on the cusp of a huge advance with battery technology. And yeah, I mean, right now, many things would change if we had exponentially more efficient batteries. And I think this is great. And if it can be done sustainably, obviously, all the better.
Right. I hope that this becomes successful. I hope it becomes widespread. It certainly would make electric cars more appealing to me if I knew that they were being operated off of batteries like this. So we shall see. Thank you, Andre, for the story. David, anything to add?
No, I'm actually thinking about, I have less than a year left on my current lease right now, and I'm starting to think about what my next car will be. And I don't know, my current car is not a hybrid. My previous car was a hybrid, and it ended up being it was the Honda Civic hybrid, and there was a class action lawsuit against Honda because they were deceptive in saying how great the gas mileage was. It basically was almost no better than the non-hybrid model, but of course you pay more for the hybrid. So I actually got a check for $100 back as part of that class action lawsuit. I don't know if I should be looking at a hybrid for my next car, or if within 10 months or however long I have, there will be more electric vehicles available, or maybe like a natural gas hybrid, but of course very few places you can fuel up. I don't know. I'm open to ideas, Louis, for my next car.
All right. I don't really know. I was thinking that at some point I would like to have a German car. But I really like those diesels, the Volkswagen diesels that get like, 45 to 50 miles per gallon.
The math you have to do is, I looked at them because I have a VW now. If you're leasing it, it's not worth it because the number of miles the lease allows for is not high enough to take advantage to amortize the higher cost of the diesel via the higher gas mileage, if that makes any sense. For owning it can make sense. But remember that diesel is also more expensive than gasoline. So you really have to do the numbers and figure out how much more are you paying for the diesel engine, how many miles will you be driving, the price differential per gallon, and you got to do that math. It's fascinating to me that a lot of people don't consider that when they get the diesels or a hybrid. And to me, it's like the first thing you have to figure out. Does this even make sense?
Right. Diesel does cost more. But if you think about it, if you're getting 45 miles per gallon and let's see, a similar, if your car gets 30, if you do the math, I mean, it would probably end up price-wise to be the equivalent of like 35, 37 miles per gallon with normal fuel.
You've got to do the math, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you get
just an estimate.
If you get 30% better gas mileage and the fuel costs 20% more, and you're paying more for the vehicle to the extent that it outweighs that 10% differential between the additional mileage and the additional gas price, it's not worth it, right? I mean, it's very simple math.
Right. I have also heard, though, that those diesel engines are supposed to be incredibly reliable.
Yeah.
And long-lasting. So, anyway, we'll end on that note.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.